The webinar has started. Let me hit the recording button as well.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're just getting started. Sorry, we're a couple minutes behind, just getting a few things in order on our end. We have roughly 1,000 or just over 1,000 RSVPs, so we're gonna give everyone an extra second or two to get on as well. It is being live streamed. For those, if we do hit capacity, for everyone to be able to still view the presentation and the meeting. So we'll give everyone just about another minute or two before we get started.
And we are live on YouTube.
And we got communication out to folks, hopefully to let them know that if they can't join us on the Zoom when we hit capacity, we are going to be doing this live on YouTube, so they can just switch formats and listen in there.
And Sarah or Roos, if we can work with Will to maybe add the link in the chat here, if anyone just wants to jump over and watch the live stream and listen in to allow someone else to come into this meeting, people will have that option as well.
Or if you're hearing from your friends and neighbors that they're unable to join the Zoom because of capacity issues, you can share the link to the live feed via text with your friends and neighbors if you're in communication with folks that may not be able to get in. I assume we still have people joining us. Good evening, everyone. We are officially going to get started in just a few minutes. Our apologies, we were a couple of minutes late kicking off, working on some technical things on our end. Good evening. As folks are making their way in, we're going to give them just another minute or two before we get started. We have over 1,000 RSVPs for this meeting tonight. We do have attendance capacity in the Zoom platform, so we are simultaneously going to be broadcasting this Zoom via YouTube. We will put that link in the chat so that if any of you joining us are in touch with your friends and neighbors and you're hearing that people are unable to get in, please give us an assist and share that link out to them. We did send an email, a notification to all of our RSVPs that in the event anyone is unable to join us in this platform, they are welcome to tune in via YouTube. Team, how are we looking? Does it look like folks have been able to join us? Shall we get started? If so, Juan, maybe you can call us to order and kick us off. Juan, how's it looking? Team CD11?
Yes, Councilwoman, I apologize. Just had a quick... Yes. Hi, everybody. I think we can get started. We do have well over 200 people in right now. And as people start trickling in, we can let them in. There's still room for capacity. And as the Councilwoman mentioned, we will also be live streaming. So welcome, everybody. My name is Juan Fregoso. I am District Director for Councilwoman Park. Thank you all for joining us here today. I am kind of just your MC, hosting and trying to keep us on time today. With that, I will hand it over to the Councilwoman so we can get started and let DWP present their presentation as well. Councilwoman, take it away.
All right, Juan, thank you so much. Team CD11, thank you for all of your work that went into organizing this event tonight. And DWP, thank you for making the time to have this very important conversation with our community. Before we dive into the presentation tonight, there are two housekeeping items that I would like to raise with the Palisades community. Some of you may have heard that my motion to waive rebuilding permitting fees made its way out of the committee that I chair, the Committee for LA Recovery. That is a positive step. It still needs to be heard by the Budget and Finance Committee before it makes its way to the full council for a vote. So I will keep you all updated as that effort moves forward, and I will let you know when that issue is scheduled to be heard. I think it is very, very important for my other colleagues in the city council to hear directly from you about how important it is to the Palisades long-term recovery and rebuilding efforts. Another note that I just wanted to add, for those of you who receive my emails, you should have received last night a communication that we sent out regarding the creation of a rebuilding authority. This is legislation that has been discussed at the county level and is currently making its way through the state legislature. This is an opportunity potentially to help our community do some big infrastructure projects, but there are also some concerns about it, including potentially losing local control over design standards, rebuilding, permitting, and other things that could have an impact. And I think it's really important for all of us to understand what the implications of creating a separate authority to cover the rebuilding are for the community as a whole. So if you haven't had an opportunity to look at that email from last night, there is some really important information in it. There is a link to the recommendations that came out of the County Blue Ribbon Commission, as well as the state legislation that now is acting on those recommendations, one of which is to create this regional authority. For those of you that may be on the Zoom tonight who are not receiving my emails, I highly suggest that you sign up for those. You can sign up at cd11.lacity.org. There is a window that will pop up. I typically only send out emails once a week, but that is a great opportunity for you to hear directly from me about big issues that are happening in City Hall, issues that are happening on the West Side generally, and a lot of information about the Palisades specifically. So please sign up for those. With that, I would like to kick off our actual meeting and agenda for this evening. I have personally attended regular meetings with the Department of Water and Power over the last several months, and we have had many, many conversations about infrastructure upgrades and planning for the future of the Pacific Palisades. So I look forward to having DWP here with us this evening to share some of those big ticket items that they are working on. And I want to set the table a little bit about what we're here to talk about and what we are not going to be talking about. You're going to hear this evening from DWP about the status of the Santa Ynez Reservoir. We are going to be talking about major upgrades to the water and power systems in the Pacific Palisades. We're also going to be talking about the undergrounding of power, as well as customer billing and meter reading. We asked people to submit questions in advance of tonight's webinar. We received about 200 of those. My team has already gone through them and identified some of the most common questions. Hopefully we'll be getting you answers to those this evening. I know many of you have questions about January 7th, and that is not what we're here to talk about this evening. I know you have those questions. I have them too. I know you want those answers. So do I. But as you know, there are multiple investigations pending, including related to the origin and cause of the January 7th fire. When those investigations are completed, we will look forward to sitting down as a community and discussing those subjects and questions, concerns, and issues in another venue. Tonight, we are here to talk about some major plans that we have for the Pacific Palisades community, as well as what that is going to mean as a practical matter for many of you either with standing homes or those of you who are going to be rebuilding. We are also doing a little bit of a different format this evening. Many of you have attended CD11 town halls in the past, and we typically have folks come off of mute and ask questions. But tonight, because we have so much to talk about, I want to turn the floor over to DWP so they can give the presentations, which I think will answer some questions. We will go through a number of the questions that were previously submitted, and my team is also going to be actively monitoring the chat, responding to as many questions there as they can, and questions that we are seeing come up repeatedly, we will go ahead and ask. Tonight is to give you a broad overview of the projects that are coming to the Pacific Palisades. We will come back in a series of smaller charrettes where we can do a deeper and more technical dive into any one of these projects or subjects that we are going to talk about this evening. When we break into those smaller group sessions, then we will go back to our usual format and invite people to come off camera and to be a little bit more interactive. But tonight, for the sake of keeping us on track and on time, we're going to try out our new format. We are also going to reserve questions until the end of the DWP presentation. So everyone bear with us. We have a lot of information that we are sharing with you this evening, and we very, very much look forward to your engagement and your thoughts, your questions, and concerns. Many of these are big projects that could involve traffic flow and coordination issues. As we talk about undergrounding utilities, there are likely to be easement and other rights of way issues that come up. And there will probably be other questions and challenges along the way that we haven't even anticipated yet. And so we really welcome hearing all of that from you. It helps us in the city side and me as your council member glimpse a bit around the corner and better plan for what lies ahead. I think you have all heard me say this before. This has been a very challenging year, obviously, in terms of traffic and access issues in the Palisades. And as we turn from recovery into the long-term rebuilding, it's really important that we all have eyes wide open and that we are using this information to develop comprehensive logistics and operations plans that will help guide us to reduce impact, not only on the folks who are rebuilding, but for the population that is living and trying to thrive in what will be the largest construction zone in our city's history. So thank you all for being here. And with that, I would like to turn the floor over to our partners from DWP to introduce themselves and kick off their presentation tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Park. My name is Anselmo Collins. I'm the Senior Assistant General Manager of the Water System. And I appreciate the opportunity for us to speak to your constituents about our efforts to restore, recover, and rebuild in the Palisades area. If we can go to the first slide, that will be appreciated. Next slide, please. So this is just a summary of what we're going to be talking about today. I am going to be covering the Sunniness Reservoir, the water quality restoration efforts, as well as upcoming water infrastructure projects that we have planned in the Pacific Palisades area. After me, Dave Hanson, Senior AGM of the Power System, will talk about the efforts the power system is making for recovery and rebuilding. And after that, we're going to have Joe Romalo, who's going to be speaking about meter reading and customer service, or customer billing, I should say. And lastly, we'll talk about the Unified Utilities Rebuild Operations Center, which we call the UROC. So if we can go to the next slide, thank you. Very well. So what you see here is a slide that shows pictures of the Sunniness Reservoir. The one thing that I want to point out from the get-go, if you look at the top, you'll see that it says that it was returned to service on June 25th, 2025. That means that last Wednesday, we were able to put the reservoir back in service after being out of service for quite a while. The pictures you're seeing here on the left and right-hand side shows some of the efforts that took by staff and contractors to fix the floating cover. And the picture that's in the middle is the reservoir that at that point probably had 40 feet of water below it in that picture that you see in the middle. Clearly, when you see a floating cover, you don't get to see the water that is protecting because it lies beneath that. So one thing I want to also clarify when it comes to Sunny Nest Reservoir is that the Sunny Nest Reservoir is a drinking water reservoir. So the water that is in that reservoir is being used to serve water to our residents, our customers, for drinking purposes and to use around our homes. It also provides the added benefit that it can provide water to the fire hydrants, which are connected to our distribution system. This is unlike some other reservoirs that we have in the area that you probably have seen that are open to the air, such as Encino Reservoir, just north of Palisades, or Lower Stem Canyon, that's east of it. Those are reservoirs that are no longer part of the distribution system, but they still hold water, and they're there for the purpose of firefighting. So helicopters can get water from there and use it to fight the fire, like they did with the Palisades fire. The one thing also that I wanted to mention is that even though you cannot see the water in the Palisades Reservoir, there's no opening. The water is below, but we also have the ability, we have a helipad that's on that reservoir property that would allow for the fire department to land on our property, hook up to the hydrant, and fill up their helicopter for firefighting purposes. So I do want to touch a little bit also, since I'm on this slide, I'm talking about the Pacific Palisades and the Sunny Nest Reservoir cover in particular. I want to share a little bit about our short-term plans and long-term plans when it comes to what we're going to do at Sunny Nest. On the short term, obviously we have the floating cover fixed now, but our goal is to replace this cover with another floating cover as a short-term solution. We recognize that this cover obviously has been patched up quite a bit. We want to make sure that we can continue to have the resiliency that we need in our system. So we're working to expedite the replacement of this floating cover with a brand new one. That is a short-term solution. However, the long-term solution is to look to replace the floating cover with a different type of cover. And we actually have 4 options that we're looking at right now. One of them could be to replace the floating cover with a fixed cover, which could be either an aluminum roof, or it could potentially be a concrete slab that you put on top of the reservoir. We are also looking at the potential of replacing the Sunny Nest Reservoir with an actual tank, which will be the one holding the water that will be supplied to the system for drinking purposes. Another option that we're looking at is potentially having the tank in an area adjacent or nearby Sunny Nest, and then be able to once again use that particular tank to serve the system. And lastly, we're also looking at potentially putting a treatment plant that will allow us to remove the floating cover from Sunny Nest, and as the water leaves or exits the reservoir, it would be treated before it goes into the system. Now, all these alternatives that I just described, we consider them longer term, meaning that it will take us probably 8 to 10 years to implement. That's the reason why having a short-term solution makes sense, to ensure that we can have reliable water supply regardless of the situation that we happen to be in. If we can go to the next slide, please. So the next thing I want to do is talk a little bit about the water quality restoration efforts. As you know, after the fire, we had to issue a do not drink notice on January 10th. After a lot of work by LADWP staff and also working with the Division of Drinking Water from the state, we were able to lift the do not drink notice on March 7th. We were able to demonstrate to the state that the water that we were serving met and exceeded all state and federal standards. Now, we didn't stop there. We have continued after the do not drink notice was lifted with a post-remediation water quality monitoring plan, which is currently on its way. We are doing regular sampling from our distribution taps. We have close to 10 taps around the city in the Pacific Palisades area, I should say, that we can take water quality samples to ensure that we are monitoring the quality of the water that we're serving our customers. We're also testing some of the water going into some of our customers' property as well as we're flushing our mains. Some of the mains that we have in the Pacific Palisades area is what we call a dead end pipe, because it goes to the end of a cul-de-sac and the pipe ends there, which means you sometimes can get the accumulation of sediment. So one of the things that we're doing to ensure high quality of water is going to those locations and flushing the pipe at the end of the pipe to make sure that we don't have any accumulation there. We're also flushing some of the service laterals for properties that were damaged in the upper elevations. Once again, just to ensure that we don't have any kind of concern with the quality of the water in those areas. And lastly, the one thing I want to point out to all of you, if you look at the bottom of the slide, is it shows the free water quality testing. This is something that's available, a service that's available to all customers. So if anybody wants LADWP to go to your home or to your business and test the water that you're receiving, please call the number that's shown on the screen, which is 213-367-3182, and you can request a free water quality testing for the water going into your property. Next slide, please. So next, what I want to do is touch a little bit on some of the plans that we have when it comes to mainland infrastructure in the Pacific Palisades area. So in the Pacific Palisades area, we have around 95 miles of pipe. And some of this pipe is aging as well. So we have devised a plan to replace approximately 13 miles of pipe that are either reaching the end of their useful life, or that we're going to be replacing because we're going to be installing what we call earthquake resilient pipe. And I'll explain that. So the first part is for main lines that are reaching their useful life. Some of them are 90 years old or close to 90 years old, but also some of them have a leak history. So we're going to concentrate on those particular pipes to be able to replace them. And then we're also going to be looking at certain areas where we know that there is a significant amount of land movement and install pipe that allows us to be able to actually see the pipe deflect and is more likely to survive after any kind of land movement, whether it's created by an earthquake or just natural movement of the land. So once again, that's 13 miles of pipe that we're going to be working on. We actually already have dedicated 3 mainline crews that are going to be exclusively working in the Pacific Palisades area to accomplish these projects. And what I want to do next is I want to touch on 2 projects so that you have an idea of the kind of work that we're going to be doing. The first one you see here is the Toyopa Drive Potrero Canyon Water Main Replacement Project. And what this is a project that calls for a replacement of 8,700 linear feet of pipe. That's 90 years old, it's cast iron, and we're going to replace it with either 6 or 8-inch pipe, which will be either steel or earthquake-resistant ductile iron pipe. These are the 2 pipes that we consider to be resilient for movement. That particular project is going to start this month. So you're going to see notifications, you're going to see the staff mobilizing, we're going to have information that we're going to be providing and have been coordinating with the councilwoman's office, as well as we're going to be coordinating with community groups to make sure that everybody is aware of the work that we're doing. So if you cannot read the map clearly that's on the screen, just to give you a frame of reference, on the eastern side of that project is Toyopa Drive. If you look to the north, you have Alta Drive. You also have Corona del Mar, which will be on the west and the southern part. Those are kind of the outer streets that we are going to be working on for this particular project. And it'll take us approximately 12 months to complete this particular job. Next slide, please. The other project that we have is a pressure regulating station. And this is a rehabilitation of the Villa de la Paz water pressure regulator station. What a pressure regulator station is an underground vault that has pipes and valves, and these valves open and close to reduce the pressure from a high pressure zone to a lower pressure zone. If you look at the map, it shows you the project area, which is on Villa de la Paz, just north of Sunset Boulevard. This project is supposed to start in November of 2025, and we're going to make sure to have flyers, fact sheets on this. We're going to have message boards there. We're going to be working with the community groups to make sure that everybody's aware. During construction, which we're estimating to be approximately 6 months, you will not be able to travel north on Villa de la Paz from Sunset Boulevard. However, the traffic on Sunset Boulevard will not be affected. The only impact will be that if you're traveling from west to east, you will not be able to make a left turn onto the project area because it'll be blocked. I would say the first 120 feet or so of the street, starting from Sunset Boulevard North, is going to be blocked. So you will have to have a detour. So we're going to continue to provide information to the council office, to the community groups, so that you know exactly the impacts that we're gonna have, and you understand the progress of the work that we're doing. And once again, this is a project that we expect that will take around 6 months to complete. And now I'm gonna pass it on to Dave Hanson, our senior AGM of the power system.
Thanks, Anselmo. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Thanks to Councilwoman Tracy Park for the great introduction and your collaboration as we've moved through this project. You know, again, we're very thankful to the community of the Palisades for allowing us to be there with you at the Palisades Recreation Center with our Ford established operating base so that we can help to expedite this work. It wouldn't have happened as quickly if it wasn't for the community's help and our partners at the city through Rec and Parks, Council District 11, and the mayor's office. So thanks again for that. We're very excited to be here tonight and answer some questions. So we can go to the next slide, Stephanie. So we are emergency recovery we completed at just towards the end of March. By March 21st, we had all the power restored to any structure that was still standing. Then we shifted into our temporary rebuild, which is actually completed as of yesterday. We set the last pole and have completely rebuilt the power system back to its original design. What we refer to as our distribution system, which is one of our higher voltage systems that we step down to the residential voltage that we supply to the homes. Our system is 4.8 kV, that's 4,800 volts. That's what we rebuilt the area back to because that was the original design. So where it was underground, it's still underground. Where it was overhead, it's back overhead. We're trying to complete everything that we need there back to original design standards. Essentially, we can't come in and set temporary poles. When we rebuild our system, it's got to be built to permanent standards. It's just part of the regulatory requirements. So we refer to it as a temp restoration, but in actuality, it'll look very similar to permanent construction because it has to be built that way. So our permanent rebuild is in progress. If you've seen the construction out there on the Sunset where we're doing the undergrounding, that's what we're referring to as our no regrets process portion of the project. That work was already in the budget to be done in a few years. We're just taking taking the advantage of the schedule now to accelerate that and start building that 35,000 volt right down Sunset. We've set some vaults and we've got underground conduit going in. We do plan to bring in a new distribution level voltage that we were going to pilot in the valley that's really going to solve a lot of problems for us in the congested areas and the outer edge of our service territory. We were going to pilot that program in the valley, but now we've decided to roll it out to the Palisades. It's going to be 12,000 volts. So we will be changing our 5 kV system over to 12, and that's going to make us very similar to our neighboring utilities. It is an upgrade. It's a modernization. If something were to go wrong with one of the pieces of equipment, it's much easier to borrow some equipment from a neighboring utility. So we're happy to be modernizing that. In order to do that, we do have to expand DS29. That's our older station there on Sunset, the white building that many of you are used to seeing. We're going to be kicking the front of that out a little closer to the street, but we're taking great pains to make sure that the aesthetics remain the same. The new extension of the front of part of the building, it'll match what's there, so we're not changing the face of the neighborhood. And just because we're able to do this with our 12,000 volts, and the expansion to DS29, we're happy to announce that we are no longer going to be needing to build distribution station 104. Many of you might be familiar with DS 104. That we have a property located immediately adjacent to Marquez Elementary School, and we have been trying to build a distribution station there for many years. But now with our new 12 kV system, we no longer need to build that DS. So we'll be talking to LAUSD school system about perhaps doing a land swap or something else working with Council District 11 to see what we could do for the community that does not involve building a distribution station there. So our plan is to underground all the residential circuits. Our goal is 100% undergrounding, and anything that keeps us from doing that would be like terrain or some sort of complications out there. Next slide, please. So here's a shot of one of our underground substructures. Sometimes they call it a vault or an underground substructure, a manhole. You might have heard it called these different things. So that's what's being set into Sunset right now. And that essentially is the substructure that we connect all of our conduit. So you can see in the drawing on the right, we are bringing in, it's the green line from that building in Brentwood where the yellow pin is dropped. We're bringing that in along Sunset. It connects DS29 and then ends up also connecting up to DS99 at the top of the hill there in section 2 on that map. So you've probably had a chance to see some of that construction out there. That's for our 35,000 volt that was already there. We're just upgrading and modernizing, and then we're adding our 12 kV system. Next slide, please. So here's a artist rendering of the distribution station 29 after we kick the front of it out there. You can see the part of it over to the right. That's going to be a garage door essentially, so we can get our large equipment in and out for construction and replacement, but we're going to make sure it doesn't look like a garage door. We want it to look exactly like the front of the building does now. We're treating it as a historical building, which in fact it probably is. I'd have to check. But anyway, that's how we're treating it. So this is what it'll be looking like. And because of this upgrade that we're doing at DS29, again, we won't have to be building DS104. So I know everybody's probably going to be very happy about that. Next slide, please. So in order for us to do that work at DS29, it requires us to take parts of it out of service so that we can do upgrades inside the station. And when we take those parts of the circuit out, or when we take that part of the equipment out of service, we have to put that electrical load somewhere else. So if you look at picture number 1, that's what a temporary pad mounted transformer looks like. That's above ground. And then in the picture number 2 to the right, many of you have driven past what we refer to as a pole top distribution station. So that mass of equipment right there in the picture above the truck in the center is what we call a pole top DS. So we have 2 of those pole top DSs in that area. And we're also happy to announce that once we finish the work at DS29, all of the temporary equipment will be coming out and we will be able to remove those 2 pole top transformers. We love the way electrical equipment looks, but we understand that many of our customers may not want to look at it. So I think you guys will all be happy to see that equipment come down. Next slide, please. So here's a map of the area that again shows that main conduit line coming in from the Brentwood area. What we've done is we've blocked this off in different categories that we're referring to as load blocks. We're kind of going neighborhood by neighborhood so we can start to figure out our design and our sequencing. So you can see the blocks are numbered 1 through 8 from west to east, but that's not necessarily the order that we're going to do them. It's just the numbering so we can make sure everybody's talking about the same block. Like for example, block 5 is where DS29 is. So we're going to be working there in block 5. And that's the alphabets in the village area as well. So these are the different load blocks as we're going to tackle them. We'll be coming back to the community to share specific schedules for each load block so that everybody can plan and we control the expectations of the community. Next slide, please. So here's another rendering of what the circuit looks like, or what the system looks like now. If you look at the drawing on the left, that's what many of you may have in your backyards. We refer to this as a property line pole system. So if you have multiple heights of electrical wires on these poles, the very top of the pole may be a higher voltage, and then they work down to a lower voltage as you come down the pole. The drawing on the left shows our distribution primary lines. That's our 4.8 kV system. And then our secondary lines is the 120/240 that actually drops down to the house. And then lower than that is the telecom. So we have a joint pole program where we share the power poles with the telecom companies. They actually pay a portion of the maintenance, and it's a joint ownership type of thing. And they put their telecom on the poles. And then what you see coming off of those poles to the house will be the service drop, which is the 12240 that feeds electrical power to the house. And then you'll also see various telecom, whether you have phone lines or fiber or cable. That'll also be coming down to the house through overhead. If you live in an underground service territory already, then you won't obviously see any of that. But this is just a rendering of what it looks like now. The one on the right is what it's going to look like after. So if we, so we're aiming at 100% undergrounding. So that means that the property line poles will be coming down, and the telecom will be coming off of the pole and going underground with us. Initially, we did get some concerns from the telecommunication companies about the costs associated with that. But we have had further meetings with the telecom companies, and we're making some accommodations for them. So I feel confident that we're moving forward with both electrical and telecommunication underground. On the next slide, the one picture is a little larger, so we'll talk about that. Stephanie, thank you. So you can see there, what we're asking the community to do is, as you rebuild your home, please use a combo panel. Any electrician or your contractor will know what that is. Your panel that goes on the side of the house will take an overhead service drop, and it'll also accommodate an underground service drop. The panels cost the same as an overhead or an underground panel. It's just a combo panel. It's the same thing you can buy at Home Depot. Your electrical contractors will be aware of this. We need a conduit run out to the front of the property line to a hand hole, and then we will continue to feed the area from the overhead system. And then once the schedule catches up to where we want to be for the residential undergrounding, then we will come back and install the underground, and then we would be taking away the overhead system, and then your panel doesn't see a change. We would just be getting rid of the overhead feed, and then we would be connecting your underground feed. And all of this information is available at our UROC, which used to be located at the Palisades Recreation Center, but it's now at the property on Topanga. And in fact, we have some equipment that we'll be mocking up for show and tell. So any questions that you have about this, we'd be delighted to meet with you or your contractors or the developers, so we can make sure everybody's on the same page. Next slide, please. So here's the piece of equipment. When we say underground, there are still portions of the circuit that are going to have to be above ground. It's just the way that the electrical system works, and it's primarily driven by safety. We strive to keep the electrical system energized all the time. We have to do work on this equipment, and a lot of times that requires us to switch, which is to turn devices on and off while they're energized. Our safety rules and the Cal OSHA regulations that drive our safety rules do not allow us to switch 12,000 volts in an underground vault. It's just not a safety possible. So that requires us to put portions of the equipment above ground. So you may see pad mounted transformers. Many of you in an underground district already are used to seeing this piece of equipment. I live in Edison territory, so it's all over my neighborhood. You'll see them in apartment complexes. A lot of time there's bollards around them protecting, but these are the types of equipment that will have to go in the residential areas. We conservatively estimate it'll be 1 for every 8 homes, and this is roughly the easement that we would need on the property to be able to install this piece of equipment. But as I said, we're right there available at the UROC, the new location in Topanga. We'd be happy to talk to any of you in person at the facility so we can make sure that expectations are managed properly, and you get a chance to look at the piece of equipment for yourself and answer any questions that you have. I believe that's my last slide, Stephanie. Is that correct? So now I'd like to introduce Joe Romalo. He's our Chief Customer Care Officer. Take it away, Joe.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. And thank you, Councilwoman, for having us this evening. Really appreciate the opportunity to share information. The portion I'm going to cover really focuses on customer service, our meter reading, and our billing system and resumption of that. Thank you for that, Stephanie. We've been focusing, as you've heard from Anselmo and Dave, primarily on our operations, resuming service, getting temporary service established on the power side, getting water quality established and reestablished on the water side, and planning for these projects. on both the water and power system. While they've done that, we have been looking at resuming the billing in the Palisades area. And in doing so, what we came across was that we need to do first, before we are able to send out meter readers, we need to do some cleanup of dust and debris that's accumulated at the meter boxes for the water meters throughout the Palisades. So in the next 6 to 8 weeks, we're going to have crews that are going out to it'll happen. Most of these meter boxes are near the curb, as you would know, and they'll go in. They're going to have their equipment on, their hazmat suits, etc., to do the cleanup. They're going to be using HEPA filters. This is all required for us to comply with our health and safety regulations to ensure our crews and staff can go out and read the meters. I just want to also mention that the water meter repairs and meter box cleaning doesn't affect water quality. Our meters don't touch the water. So this is just cleanup of the meters so that we can get folks out there to read the meters in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Go ahead and flip to the next slide, please. Okay. Regarding customer billing, we need to read the meters in order to bill the accounts. Our water and electric and sanitation charges go out, as you know, in one bill. In looking at resuming billing and how we would proceed with this, we know that there was an awful lot of water use right at the time of the fire that was used for emergency purposes. There's been water use since. We last read meters in the Palisades literally the 2 weeks or so before the fire. That will be the last meter read for customers before we get back out there and able to read them again. On the water side, what we've determined is that we will not be billing for any water consumption between the last meter read and the next time we're able to read those meters. At this time, what we're planning for on the water side is to resume reading the water meters for commercial customers at the end of July is our target date, and at the end of August, first week of September for residential. The most fair and equitable manner for us to handle this, we felt, is to not bill for that use. We won't have billing issues then and discussions and any billing disputes or anything about any of that water use and how we know a lot of it was used at that time for folks that were leaving or that has been used since for cleanup and other purposes. On the electric side, our electric meters right now are accessible. We'll be reading them when we read the water meters. We will be billing for the use since the last bill for the electric meters because it reflects actual electric consumption. However, we are limited to billing only for the last 3 billing cycles for residential and the last 6 billing cycles for commercial. 3 billing cycles is approximately 6 months. 6 billing for residential, 6 billing cycles is approximately 6 months for commercial because we read commercial meters monthly and we read residential water and electric meters bi-monthly. So what that will mean on the electric side is that even though we're going to read the meters and bill it, there's going to be a credit for some period of time, potentially 1 billing cycle, possibly more for some customers, depending on when we last read their meter on that bill. So it'll amount to a less than full billing on the electric meter for nearly all of the customers in the Palisades. I want to stress that what I have just shared in terms of the plans that we're moving toward apply only to existing customers, not destroyed properties. We closed the accounts for properties that were identified as destroyed on the county assessment and information that we received both from our customers, and we had approximately 5,000 customers call us to close their accounts, as well as from the county assessment reports and from CAL FIRE. So if you are one of those customers whose property was destroyed, you will not receive a further bill from us since the last one that was received at the end of December, beginning of January. If you do receive a bill, please call us. We want to take care of it. Regarding LA sanitation charges for solid waste and wastewater, we've been in communication with them. We will take billing instructions from them because we bill on their behalf. Because there'll be no water use billed, we believe that means that there won't be wastewater charges associated with that. We will hopefully be able to confirm that with them soon. But the way in which our billing system works is water consumption then determines the degree to which wastewater is calculated. So we're having those conversations. We'll be able to share more definitive information with you soon, but we believe that the wastewater charges will also not be billed in connection with the water charges. Go ahead and get the next slide. Thank you. We know that this delayed bill on the electric side and any other components on the bill is a burden, and certainly for customers in the Palisades area who have gone through so much. We want you to know that we are not here to collect this money quickly from you. We're not here to start, late notices or the collections process. If anybody gets a late notice in the Palisades, please disregard it. We've shut off all of the collections process and any disconnections for non-payment through the end of 2025. We also have extended payment agreement and payment options available, either by calling our customer service reps at 1-800-DIAL-DWP or by logging online and signing up for one. You can even make an interim payment right now if it helps, just to know that you're accumulating an electric bill that we will bill you for when we are able to read the meters and send out bills. Once again, just from a planning standpoint, on the resumption of billing, we expect and are aiming for the end of July for commercial, the end of August, first week of September for residential. We're going to send a letter out to every customer to let them know before that bill goes out, so that you have a summary of everything that I've discussed here this evening. For solar customers, we have about 400 plus residential solar customers in the Palisades. If your home was destroyed or partially destroyed and you decide to rebuild at that site, you'll retain all of your banked net energy metering credits. We aren't able to transfer those outside and away from that property. It's an issue of law. We've pushed, we've asked, we can't do it under the law and under guidance we received from legal. But if you're rebuilding on the same property, we will that credit will stay with you. Next slide, please. From a customer service standpoint, just want to share that we had the utility, the UROC, located at the Palisades Recreation Center. It now has a new location here on South Topanga Canyon Boulevard in Malibu. We have hours from Monday through Friday. We have power electric service representatives there. We have water as well as customer service there, and able to assist you with any needs that you have. And next slide, Stephanie. Our website, LADWP.com/Palisades, has this information. It'll have updated information based upon tonight's discussion and presentation as well in the next day or so. We want to thank you all very much. There's certainly an email address here if you have questions that you can send to as well regarding the rebuilding questions for our water or electric service reps that we can also respond to you. And once again, thank you all very much for your listening this evening. It was a lot of information, and we certainly appreciate the opportunity to share it with you.
Right. Was that everybody from DWP? All right.
ma'am.
Anselmo, David, Joe, thank you for that overview of some very big, very important, and very much needed infrastructure upgrades and repairs in the Pacific Palisades. I obviously very, very relieved to hear and to be able to finally share publicly with the community that the discussion around DS 104 at Marquez Elementary School can finally be put to rest. That is certainly something that we have been talking about for a long time. And to the Palisades community, everyone, I know this has been a lot of information to take in this evening. And as I promised, we are going to break into charrettes on each of these topics and subjects, and we can dive in more on some of the technical details and other impacts. I'm going to kick us off with a few questions before I have my team step in and ask some of the questions that they are seeing in the chats. I want to start with the Santa Ynez Reservoir. I understand that it currently has water in it. It is currently in service, and the permeable cover that it is on it obviously has been repaired. I appreciated you all coming to the recovery committee the other day. And we had a discussion there, and I would like the opportunity to raise this again. The permeable cover obviously has had repeated challenges. You all have had some false starts and stops because of continued tears in it. And I just want to clarify that you are in the process of, or have already procured another permeable cover so that you have it as backup. But I am really more interested about the potential long-term fix and solution to this. Can we talk a little bit more about plans and timelines for a potential permanent cover? I think we heard possibly up to a decade in the committee the other day, and I don't think that went over very well. I know it didn't land well with me, and I'm not sure the constituents liked hearing that that was the timeline either. So can we just dive in a little bit deeper on that subject, please?
Absolutely, Councilwoman. So yeah, let me first start out with the replacement floating cover. We don't have a floating cover as backup. What we're planning on doing is, because these covers have to be designed and then installed, so we're securing the designer and to work on the design for the floating cover, and then we're going to get a contractor to install it. So it'll be a brand new cover, and the goal is to have that done in the next couple of years. So that'll be the short term, like I talked about before. That's the short term solution, to have a cover that has not gone through all the strains and stresses that this one has, in addition to the fire, because we did find embers that actually landed on the cover that created some of the pinholes that we had to fix. So we're going to put a brand new cover. So once we do that, then we'll have a new cover there. The plan longer term, like you mentioned, we're looking at 4 different options. One of the options is to go ahead and build a new cover on it, but this would be a fixed cover. It could be either an aluminum cover, which will require, basically, you have to empty the reservoir. You got to build columns inside of the reservoir to take the weight of a new roof on top of it. One option is aluminum. The other option is concrete. You basically lay a concrete slab on top of it, and then you can actually put either dirt over it and grass, so you won't even be able to know that there is a reservoir structure there. So that's one option that we're looking at. The other option could be to put tanks somewhere in the area and basically replace San Ynez Reservoir as a drinking water facility and have that responsibility moved over to an actual tank in a different location. And lastly is treatment, which would mean that we would build a treatment facility that would take the water from the reservoir, San Ynez. We will remove the floating cover. The water would then, as it exits the reservoir, it will be treated and then it will go into the system. So those are 4 options. And yes, the duration can be quite long, because part of it is, first, we need to figure out which option. Staff is working on that right now to give me an evaluation analysis of what are the best solutions. I expect to get that by the beginning of 2026. They're looking at those 4 options. Then the idea is, once we make the selection of that, will be to secure, if we need, a consultant to design it, or it'll be designed in-house. That solution obviously would be first vetted with the Board of Water and Power Commissioners, as well as your office, so that you would know what the plan is. And yes, it is a longer term construction for one of these. But what I would say is that we'll have the reservoir with a floating cover completely available. And if we're building something at the reservoir itself, we will look for opportunities to build temporary storage elsewhere so that there's still storage in the area.
Great, Anselmo, thank you for that. So it sounds like there are a few different strategies that could be used long-term. I know that this will continue to be an ongoing conversation between us and the community, and I appreciate that. I just also want to be very clear, and I know that I speak on behalf of all Palisadians when I point out that our biggest priority is to ensure that that water supply is available to us for all the purposes that it can serve in the times that we might need it. So that is a great segue to my next question. And I've already heard the answer from the fire department about this, but I want to hear it from you as well. Are all of the fire hydrants in the Pacific Palisades currently operational and pressurized?
Yes.
Excellent.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to expand on that a little more, just for clarity.
Yes.
As you know, we have an agreement with the fire department. The fire department inspects the hydrants. Based on their inspection, they provide us with a list of hydrants that we need to go and take a look at because they may require to be replaced or repaired. For 2024, there were a total of 1,350 fire hydrants in the entire city of Los Angeles that were identified by the fire department for us to look at. We have 61,000 hydrants in the city of Los Angeles. Of those 1,350 hydrants, we got that information sometime in February of this year. As soon as we got the information, we had multiple crews working 6 days a week, and we were able to get all those hydrants addressed in around 6 weeks. And with that particular batch, I believe out of the 1,350, there were 11 hydrants in the Pacific Palisades area that we had to look at. Only 4 of them actually needed to be repaired, and they were repaired immediately. So for 2025, the fire department recently completed their inspection program. They identified a total of 1,667 fire hydrants in the entire city that they wanted us to take a look at for possible repairs. Of those, 41 were in the Pacific Palisades area. We went and looked at every single one of them, and only 12 of the 41 in the Pacific Palisades area required to be repaired. All those repairs have been completed.
Great, great. So just want to make sure everyone has heard that for Palisades. The DWP and the fire department have both confirmed that your hydrant system is online and fully operational. I'm going to ask one more before I have my team turn it over to the current questions in the chat. And this relates to undergrounding. It's a multiple part question. One, if we are going to go to all of the trouble to trench the streets and put the power underground, do we have a plan or strategy in place to bring the telecommunications down with it? Because at the end of the day, if we're going to go to all of this time and trouble and expense, it would be great to not have the poles and the wires everywhere. When things are undergrounded, can you talk to us a little bit more about the infrastructure that some homeowners may be required to have? Where is that located? What can and can't they do with it? And what do their builders need to know currently as they are doing their plans or revising their plans now that they have this information? And final part to the question, what does that mean for standing homes? How did they get to participate in this as well? So multiple parts to my questions about undergrounding.
Well, thank you for the question. So I believe the first question was about the telecoms. Okay, so our telecommunication companies are privately owned companies. They don't fall under the public assistant branch of FEMA. So for us, when we have something like a mass casualty event like this, a terrible accident, and we are able to get some of this work reimbursed by FEMA, that's a luxury that the public entities have that the private companies don't. So when the private telecos came out there and rebuilt their infrastructure as quickly as they did, it obviously cost them, in the millions of dollars. And there's not really a way for them to capture those costs. So what we had offered to them very quickly at the beginning of all of this recovery was, let's accommodate you in our underground. And so right now we're working closely with all of the major telecom companies, as well as the county and the state, the governor's office, to come up with how can we accommodate them and not have it be such a big impact to them. We have several ideas on the table. In fact, in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be having a follow-up meeting with the telecom companies to give them some different options. So originally the option was they were very adamant about staying overhead. So if you want to upset a lineman, call a power pole a telephone pole. Well, once we cut the top of it off and remove our power circuits, it now becomes a telephone pole. So one of our proposals was to cut the top of the pole, turn it over to the telecom companies, have them manage their own pole inspection program. We didn't want to do this. We didn't think it was going to be something that they wanted to do, but they kind of surprised us in that was what they wanted to do. We'll own our own telecom. Okay, well, it doesn't really affect what we're trying to do. It's just going to upset the community because when we say 100% undergrounding, the expectation is that everything's underground. So I think the telecom companies are on board with that now. We've had all of them reach out to us. So we have several different options of what we're planning. We don't allow joint trenching. It's a hazard for us because if we dig one hole down the middle of Sunset and we put in our high voltage and then we allowed telecom to come behind in that exact same conduit duct in the trench, years later when there needs to be work and repair, someone could accidentally chip into high voltage when they think they're chipping into telecom. So what we can offer is parallel trenching. It's kind of, six of one, half a dozen of another. But what'll happen is we dig the hole, we dig it a little wider. They will set their own conduit system a little shallower than ours in their own encased concrete. That way, when they come back years later, if they have to chip out and get down to the concrete, it won't have anything to do with our equipment. And that is all legal. It matches our safety rules, and it's a huge, significant cost savings to the contractors for the telecom companies. So we're going to be offering parallel trenching as one of our options. We don't really like the topping the pole option. And then we also have the lease. These companies can come in and actually lease space on our fiber. As technology advances, it's not just electricity in the ground. We have our own fiber optic network and our own telecommunication, so we can control and monitor the circuits in the system. Well, we have to do that with the same equipment that they use to offer public Wi-Fi and public telecom. So we can just allow them to lease space onto our fiber. So we're going to be meeting with them and offering them all three of these options and see which way we go. But right now, everyone is leaning towards coming underground with us, and we're super excited about that because we know many homeowners have had facilities in their backyard that may not be allowed to be rebuilt now because of encroachments, the placement of a pool. So for us to be able to remove those pole lines completely, I think that's going to make the community much happier. Could you remind me what your second question was?
Yes. So great news to hear that there is forward progress with the telecoms. Appreciate the efforts by the mayor and the governor and you and your team. We will continue to lobby and assist as well, because if we're going to do this, it just makes sense to do it all at once. The other components of my question were, can you tell us about the infrastructure that some folks are going to have on their homes, the boxes that, probably go in front yards, as well as the underground connectors, because their builders need to know this information as they are currently preparing and submitting plans.
Gotcha.
Or if they have already submitted, if they need to be revised to make sure that they have the right connectors and they are preparing for the infrastructure that they are going to need. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that? And how does this impact standing homes?
Gotcha. So essentially what we're asking for is a small conduit to be brought out from the customer service panel, their electrical panel, to the front yard property line of the property. What we refer to as a hand hole is a very small underground, think of it like a meter box. It's just a small concrete enclosure with a lid, and then it would have PVC conduit that goes from their electrical panel all the way out to this box and just terminates. Those devices are very cheap, very inexpensive. It can be caught for a couple of $100s, and it just gets incorporated into the rebuild. Matter of fact, will probably be covered by the 110%, which most of what we're hearing from FEMA reimbursement for the residential reconstruction. So we just need that brought out in a handhold to the front yard property line. They'll still connect. If you're in an overhead area, we'll still be dropping on overhead service to your house, which has already been connected and energized at this point. If you're rebuilding your home, we have already rebuilt that property line pole system. So when the house is rebuilt, we'll drop you an overhead service feed from the pole. If it's on your property line in the backyard, it'll be coming in where it is now, or where it was before you lost the structure. And then we'll also have that underground going out to the front for the handhole. And then when we come back in early 2026, to do the residential areas for our undergrounding. Then we would come in and interconnect with that small handhole on the front yard, and then the backyard stuff starts to come down once the neighborhood is built. So I saw one of the questions in the chat. I was kind of cheating and looking ahead, but I saw somebody asking about how many homes. So we think it's roughly 1 every 8 houses will have to have some sort of above ground structure. It could be on either side of the street. We don't currently build in the right of way, but that's just something that we as a utility have never done. But at this point, everything is on the table and everything is open for consideration, and we'd be happy to talk with everybody about that. For the folks that did not lose their homes and they're currently being fed overhead, this is not an undergrounding district, so there's no mechanism for us to come in and essentially force folks to go underground. We didn't want to negatively impact the neighborhoods like that. We want to provide the option. And if they don't want to take the option, our plan was to go community by community, street by street, talk with the area. And if they unanimously don't want to go underground and they just want to stay overhead, fine, it's fine with us. We'll harden your overhead system with another wildfire mitigation technique. We don't have to go underground in order to mitigate that wildfire hazard. So if folks elect to go underground, we just ask that you stub out some conduit to the front yard property line handhole, and then we'll come back over the next few months of our project as it progresses and intercept that. But if people don't want to, that's fine. That's their choice.
Okay, thank you for that. So guys, again, tonight, everyone joining us, this is a very high level overview. We are going to come back. We will do separate breakout town hall just on undergrounding. Would really like to open that conversation up to our builders and architects as well. So we will do much deeper dives into that subject matter, because I want everyone to have eyes wide open. And we as a council office are more than happy to assist with the community organizing that is going to need to be done to help make these decisions and address and resolve any potential easement issues that may come up along the way. I have been advised by my team that I have asked enough questions at this point. So we are going to look to the Q&A for the next series of questions. This is coming directly from our participants in the Palisades. Juan and team, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And yes, you can ask more questions. I just wanted to come back to some of these. But again, Juan Fregoso, District Director for Councilwoman Park. I also have my colleagues, Arus Gregorian, who can introduce herself real quick. Your field deputy, and we have Sarah Flaherty with our legislative team. These two are usually the main points of contact you're working through on most of the issues day to day for our office. But we also have a team that is working on a lot of these issues that do come up. So thank you, Sarah and Arus. So with that, I will go to Arus first, your field deputy. Question.
Hi, everyone. Arus Gregorian, your field deputy for Pacific Palisades. I am going to try my best and get as many questions as we can. And please let me know if those questions are answered very quickly. And DWP team, go ahead and feel free to unmute yourself and answer those questions as they come. When will the DWP allow for bi-directional charging? Having the EV battery to power the house during emergency power outages will generally improve our resilience. Is there an answer for this one?
This is Theodore. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead, Theo. I was going to kick it to Joe, but go ahead, Theo.
Yeah, that's correct. This is part of solar policy. Joe can probably answer some of the higher level parts of this, but details on solar policy would be covered later as we work through this program. And again, this program is a citywide program in this case. I know it's highlighted by the events that happened here in the Palisades, but it has an effect across the whole service territory.
Yeah, I would just
like to add anything.
I just wanted to add that we are working on a package of incentives for electrification, and nothing related to requiring, but incentivizing and providing rebates. So there'll be more information coming on that, along with bidirectional as well.
Thank you. Did we answer when will the DWP bill start again?
I think so. Our goal right now, and we're working with Oracle, which powers our billing system, to do the programming. The goal is to read the meters and bill for commercial at the end of July. There is a possibility that could slip to August. They're billed monthly. For residential, the next billing cycle for normal reads would be at the end of August, first week of September. That's the next window of time when we would read and bill for Palisades for residential customers. If there's a change to that, we'll let folks know. We're also going to send a letter out in advance to let everybody know what to expect on their bill before we send it.
Thank you. Rusty Canyon is listed in Zone 7 on the map you showed for undergrounding. Does this include Santa Monica Canyon? Is there an answer for this?
If they want to come in person by the U-Rock there on Topanga, they can walk through some of our field representatives right there and look at that map up close. I can't speak to the exact split on that, but Theo Zeiss and his team that's there at the U-Rock can definitely answer those questions. And we will be setting up some in-person equipment for show and tell. So anybody that has questions about combo panels or what the above ground equipment will look like, it'll be mocked up at the same location.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you. And we'll I'm gonna hop over to my colleague Sarah so we can popcorn back and forth. Ruth, I'll come right back to you in a little bit, and then Councilwoman, we'll come back to you as well. I know you still have some questions that we've reviewed as well. So Sarah, want to introduce yourself real quick and ask a question?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Sarah Flaherty. I'm your legislative deputy. I help out Ruth with some of the Palisades questions. And if you see a little head pop up, this is my special assistant Kit. So I do not have a tail, that would be him. So we've seen a couple questions in the Q&A asking about meters. Are meters being replaced? If they had an old meter, will that be upgraded to an electric one? What is the timeline for that?
So are you specifically, do you think they're talking about electric meters, water meters, or just meters in general?
Let's try to answer both.
So we do have an automated metering initiative that's going on right now where we're actually going out and placing advanced metering so we can get some telemetry from the end of our circuits and see what the customers are experiencing. That'll help us manage outages much better. As far as the water meters, we also have some R&D going on looking at what can we do to make things a little more resilient inside the power system. But as far as the specifics of the water meters, I'll kick it to Anselmo.
Thanks, Dave. So when it comes to the water meters, the water meters that we have out there, most of them that are providing water to the homes are operational. We do on a regular basis replace meters. We replace around 30,000 meters every year. We are looking, however, to potentially implement smart meters or AMI meters in that area. The biggest challenge is the battery life. Power meters with AMI actually get power from the line, so they always have electricity. The water meters have a battery, and those batteries typically have a life of approximately 10 years or so. So one of the things that we're doing is that we're working with people in academia, people in the industry, to do some more research on innovation and see if there's new technology that provides for a longer life for the batteries, so that we can make sure that if we install these meters, that we'll have enough of a life in them to be registering properly for a longer period of time than only 10 years. That's what we're looking at, and potentially we could do it. The also benefit of it is that by having a smart meter, it allows the customer to have access to that information immediately, so they know how they're using the water as well.
That's one of the things I think in general we're most excited about for the AMI. It's not so much the convenience of billing or some impact to the way we read meters. We're looking forward to it so that we can actually manage our outages much more efficiently, answer questions real time. When the customers are dealing with a heat storm or a wind and rainstorm, then we can answer their questions real time because we'll be able to see what they see. Right now, we do have an outage management system and an outage management map that's on our LADWP site, but it's not as modern as it needs to be. That's why we're really pushing AMI and are super excited to see it finally getting going.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, David. Arus, you had another question, and then I'll come back to Sarah.
Thank you, Juan. We have a question regarding DS station 29. Have you made sure to mitigate the sound that is created by the new equipment? So is there an answer for this?
Yeah, that's one of the things that comes along with the electrical equipment is the hum because of our 60 hertz system in the United States. It causes vibrations. Sometimes there's cooling fans, and we do get the occasional noise complaint. As we modernize the station, we look for modern, quiet equipment, and that's part of our specification. We also have sound walls and sound deadening structures that we build into new modern distribution stations. So all of that will be incorporated in our expansion for DS29. There will still more than likely be some noise, but we're really looking at cutting that down as much as possible. There's been a lot of advancements in switch gear, so the equipment, if you were to look overhead to see what's actually in there, when we're done with this, it's going to look a lot different, and it's going to be very resilient, very modern, and it's going to last another 100 years.
Thanks so much. Can the process of front and rear property easement transfer happen now?
That's so anybody wants to jump in on easements, that's part of the public facing that we hope to be able to capture at the UROC. We do have an encroachment process where we do consider structures that are built within our right of way. There's right of entry, there's property easements. So there's a process that we have for reviewing that and allowing that. We recommend anybody that has those specific questions about their property to go to the UROC, talk to one of our folks there in person, and then we can look at a map. We can even drive out to the property with you and look exactly what you're talking about, and then go from there.
Thank you, David. Sarah, you have another question?
Yes, I do. Here, let me just pull that up. We have a lot of questions, and I know you answered this in part about the locations of the pads, but when will those maps be made public? I think you talked about that it would kind of be a collaborative process by going to the community and explaining to them, but what is the best way that they can plan for that and get maps? What will that look like?
Yeah, great. So what we are, again, we're pointing everybody to the UROC, but we are going to have routine meetings like this. I think Councilwoman Tracy Park was talking about having specific breakout sessions on this. And as soon as we have these designs and we hit crucial decision points in our design process, we intend to involve the community. Our new marching orders from our CEO and chief engineer is 100% transparency. So that's what we're doing. It's actually fun to engage with the community and involve them. You know, it's exciting. We love what we do. And a lot of time people don't want to hear about water and power. They just want to turn on the faucet and flip the light switch. So if you give us these forums to come out and actually geek out about what we do, we love that. So we're looking forward to hosting some of these community engagements, hopefully in person at the UROC. We are building a community center there as well. So we would be happy to involve the community in what everything's going to look like. We just want them to be involved in the process the entire way and happy when we walk away.
Excellent. This is going to be an ongoing conversation. And as we get our zones and our neighborhoods organized, we're going to have many, many opportunities to have that conversation. I'm going to jump in with another question that I've heard from a number of constituents. Can we get expedited approval for temporary power during rebuilds?
So that is something that we are definitely looking at accommodating through the UROC. I believe you spoke to the expedited permitting process at the beginning, Councilwoman Park. That's more for the permitting agencies for the city, but it's also a directive to us as well from the mayor's office and working with Council District 11 about expediting that. So we hope to do that through the UROC eventually as the telecom companies are on board with what we're doing in the design process. They will also be setting up station there, so it'll be a one-stop shop for the customers to come in and talk about these things so that we can expedite that review.
Okay, appreciate that, Dave, because I have heard from a couple of constituents that already have permits that are ready to start rebuilding that they need temporary services and they do not fully have what they need connected yet through DWP to even get started.
Understood. So many of our processes, as a bureaucratic organization as we are, there's a lot of layers that you have to go through. So another thing that we're being pushed towards with our new CEO that we're so happy to be finally doing is some process improvements. We have a corporate process improvement chief, Mr. Rajiv Mehta, who's come in and he's analyzing a lot of our processes, very specifically new business. We're going to be unveiling our new business electrical connection process to the developers in the community in all areas. It's going to specifically benefit the Palisades, but also all of our affordable housing projects and project powerhouse initiatives all over our service territory. This will be a one-person contact for all these developers from the beginning of the project all the way to the end, instead of us handing you off to different groups inside of DWP and kind of leaving you to navigate our process. We're giving you a concierge service. That's what we're calling it. So we have one person that will deal with the customer from beginning to end. And we're looking, that'll be in place by the end of July. And we're also going to be piloting that through the UROC there on the Topanga State Beach.
Okay, good. Well, I'm always glad to hear that there are professionals from the outside in particular that come in and can take a look and give us guidance on ways to improve our systems and processes. But I just want to be clear, and again, I'm speaking on behalf of all of our constituents in the Pacific Palisades. We have folks who are ready to rebuild, and I want them to have whatever it is they need as quickly as possible to get their projects moving. So hear us loud and clear on that.
Copy Lima Charlie. So we did open the UROC on Monday. So anybody is welcome to come down to the Topanga location tomorrow.
Great. All right, team, I'm going to kick it back to you guys to go back to the chats.
Thank you, Councilwoman Arus.
How is LADWP going to select whose private property gets 15 feet by 11 feet POT easement for a transformer switch for those 8 homes? I know we have told all of you participants, we're going to come back for more technical questions, but is there an answer for this one?
So we were all familiar with the term NIMBY, not in my backyard. So we're coining the term NIMFY, not in my front yard. We know that people are going to be very concerned about where we place these things. So that's why we're talking about taking another look at our design standards. Maybe it is time for us to start building in the public right away. We will be very transparent with the community about where the actual above ground equipment has to go. Like we said, it should be about approximately every 8 houses. It could be on either side of the street. And we'll definitely work with the community before we just plop this thing in the front of somebody's house without telling them. That we will not do.
Thank you very much. I have 2 more questions I would like to ask. This is regarding the projects, the 2 projects that were presented. Will Toyoba Drive be closed for that project? From which block to which block? That's the first. And then can you please advise us what the general contractor was awarded, the Toyoba Drive Potrero Canyon Water Project, and also the Via de la Paz? Is there an answer for those questions?
Yes, there is. So for the mainline replacement project, the Toyoba project, it's what we call a rolling construction. So not all the streets that we're going to be installing pipe in are going to be under construction simultaneously. We're going to work on a particular street in a particular area. Once it complete that, then we move to the next area. So at times, we're going to have portions of the street cut open. The public, the folks that live in the area are still going to have access to their homes. So they'll be able to get in and out. But obviously, the lane in which the water main is being installed will be closed down, but we can still allow access. But the main point is that we're going to keep doing this in steps and steps. So not every single street is going to be impacted at the same time. The second question was about contractor. This work is being done by LADWP workforces. So this is water and power staff that will be installing the water main for this mainline replacement project. And same for the pressure regulating station project that I mentioned. That is all being done by LADWP staff.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask one more question. Will you be addressing the repair and restoration of the Chautauqua Reservoir above the alphabets? Is there an answer for this one?
Yeah, I can tell you, so we're talking about what we call that's towards the Palisades Reservoir. That's a reservoir that's been taken offline over a decade ago. The challenge that we have with that particular location is that because of the elevation, the water in that particular reservoir does not drain on a regular basis. It will stay there. It's what we call, it's hydraulically submerged. The pressure that's around in the area is so great that it doesn't allow the reservoir to actually provide water to the system. That created a water quality problem. In addition to that, that particular facility, because it's been out of service for so long, is not able to hold water, is not watertight. So we're not looking to put that particular reservoir back in service. As we look, however, at the options for a long-term solution to Sunny Nest Reservoir, we may consider if we need to do something else at that site as a temporary solution. So we're going to look at that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Sarah, I want to come to you. I know you had a few questions yourself, and Arus, we'll get time for at least one more. And Councilwoman, I know we're getting close to our end time, but we'll let you cap us off in a little bit. If everyone's okay going just a couple minutes over, just since we started a little behind.
All right, we have a question from a solar customer. They're asking, will solar customers be able to retain the original solar generation reimbursement rates that they had prior to the fire?
I will check on the rate, and if you want, we can follow up with that questioner. I know in terms of the ability to rebuild and retain credits, I don't believe our solar rates have changed, but I can double check that and get back to them.
Thank you. We appreciate that. I'll go to one more that I think we answered a little bit in the chat, but it would be great to hear from you to clarify. So when we say telecom, when we're talking about bringing, everything underground, could you elaborate on what that means? Does that include internet, wireless providers as well?
Yeah, it's pretty much anything and everything that's not power for us that's already on the pole. So it could be cable, it could be old telephone lines, fiber, anything like that. So when we say telecom, it's just we're talking AT&T, Frontier, Spectrum, Verizon, T-Mobile, those companies.
Thank you. Juan.
Thank you, Sarah. Arus, one more question, and then Councilwoman, you can bring us home.
Thank you, Juan. I'm going to ask a very beautiful, commanding question and statement, I want to say, and I would like to hear the best answer for this one. Wonderful news. Just thank you for sharing the news about the substation. Excited to see how that property next to Marquez Elementary can be used for the community. Perhaps as a dog park or community park with the tennis, pickleball, basketball courts, question mark.
That's very good. I mean, if we go back in time, when was it, Councilwoman Park, where I promised you we won't do anything at that property without your involvement? That promise still stands. So right now we're using it for underground staging as we start to work down the sunset for our undergrounding work. But very soon we'll be pulling everything out of there. We're going to talk with LAUSD school system and see if we do a property swap. If they've got ideas for some sort of expansion of the Marquez Elementary School, then we could definitely use property elsewhere in the valley to build more distribution stations for that part of our service territory. So we're definitely looking at what we want to do there. We could do something community facing. We could keep the property and build a charging station or a cool down station. I mean, there's whatever we want to do. You guys just let us know and we'll entertain that and involve the community every step of the way.
All right. So that takes us to the 6:30 mark, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time this evening. There are a lot more questions. I know there are a lot of questions still in the chat. My team has captured those. We are going to continue participating in these meetings and make sure that over time, all of these questions get answered. As we've mentioned a couple of times, we are going to be breaking out into a series, an ongoing series of meetings and discussions about all of these major infrastructure projects in your community. Obviously, the undergrounding is one of the biggest, and it is something that we are very, very pleased that we have DWP's commitment to lead us through. There are going to be some kinks and some challenges, and we are going to have to organize by neighborhood, by street, into our communities to make sure that we have plans to get all of this done in a timely and orderly fashion. So we will look forward to those many conversations as we move forward with all of this. And I would invite everybody to please take DWP up on their offer to go visit them at the Topanga location. You can send your contractors and builders there. There will be DWP staff on hand to answer questions. And I believe they have heard our direction as a council office loud and clear. We want the answer to be yes as often as we can conceivably make the answer be yes. And I want everybody moving as quickly as possible to get our residents and property owners what they need so they can begin their rebuilding process as quickly as possible. I want to thank DWP for the incredible work that has unfolded over the last 6 months. It has been an unprecedented effort, and what you all did from those immediate days in the fire to where we are now, and your presence in the community has enabled us to move as quickly as we have. So I want to say thank you on behalf of the city and the council office for that, and for my residents as well. We really appreciate everyone being with us this evening. Please continue to follow along with my newsletters and social media. We will be pushing out information about coming sessions, whether we are doing webinars or whether we are going to be breaking into in-person charrettes over at the Topanga location at smaller scale, so that we can all sit and roll our sleeves up and everybody have a seat at the table in making these decisions and having their questions answered. Appreciate you all. Thank you for being here this evening, and we will look forward to many, many conversations as we continue what is going to be a long process in the Palisades. Thank you all. Good night, everyone, and we'll see you soon.